Good day, friends. This is Casey back again with Aligned Astrology. Today we're talking about the new moon solar eclipse in the sign of Aquarius, culminating on February 17th. Eastern Standard Time. It's going to be about 6 a.m. So, today I want to talk about the importance of this eclipse. We all know eclipses as fated events, most astrologers say. And it can be seen as a very true experience because when we notice the sun and moon coming into close proximity with the nodes, we always experience these eclipses. And during times of eclipse season, there are tremendous opportunities to go in different directions, and different experiences come into our life that can have potential to dramatically change our lives, hopefully in positive ways. Now, the way I read astrology, regardless of challenging aspects or beneficial aspects, there's always a positive outcome that can be attained. When we think about the sign of Aquarius, we can think about different topics like humanitarianism or revolutionary. We can think about the ideas of the status quo or comparing the past to the future. When we begin to think about these different ideals, we next have to think about our own personal lives. Usually when we begin to talk about the sign of Aquarius, we tend to think about the community and how the impact on a community is going to be changed. Maybe it's our own personal communities that we're part of, or the collective community in this, in a sense, society, with our government and those powers that be. I like to talk from the standpoint as a traditional astrologer, the ideas of Aquarius in our own personal lives. And that's where horoscopes come in handy. But today we're not going to do horoscopes. We're just going to talk a bit about Aquarius on a personal level. When we begin to think about Aquarius from a personal experience, Aquarius is one of the signs that connects with people. It's one of the air signs. The air signs are correlated with communication and personal connection. In the case of Aquarius, Aquarius likes community connection and community understanding, because this is how Aquarius gets to know oneself, gets to know how they connect with the other. Now it's an opportunity for eclipse season here as we enter into this solar eclipse energy, for something new to come to our awareness, something new to come to fruition in our experiences. And of course, it will be very different for each one of us depending on our own rising signs, but it will still carry that same collective energy of a new revolutionary process, something that is beginning new, something that has to be sort of released, or not necessarily released in the case of an eclipse, since these can be considered as fated events. It's an opportunity for us to see something being moved out of our experience, or something being kind of brought in, or even, I don't like to use the forced in, but when we think about terminology of revolutionary, it's something that is going to do what the water bearer does. We can think of the understanding of the zodiac glyph, or the characteristic of the Aquarius. The water bearer pours the water over the land and creates something entirely new. So with this revolutionary aspect, or this new ideal, the new way of living that the Aquarius energy can bring forward is going to affect our lives very particularly and collectively as well, especially since the planet Pluto has moved into the whole sign house of Aquarius, and it's here to stay for nearly 2 decades. Pluto is the great revealer that's going to bring things up to surface, and when we have an eclipse in this place, it's bound to show itself. It's We also want to talk about the dispositor of this eclipse, which is Saturn. Saturn has just moved into the sign of Aries, and if you haven't seen my last video, please go check that one out. And if you're not subscribed, please subscribe so you can keep getting this information. But the planet Saturn, which has moved into the sign of Aries and taken on the characteristics of Aries, is inviting us to find some more discipline in our impulsive action, some more discipline in our own personal experiences, and understanding how we operate and understand ourselves. So that is good for the Aquarius energy because, like I said earlier, the sign of Aquarius, the people who carry Aquarius energy, tend to get to know themselves through the eyes of others. But don't we all really get to know ourselves through the eyes of others? Without the other person, will we really be able to know ourselves? Who knows? We'd have to experience life without others, and who knows if life would even be able to last without the other. Very interesting concept, but under the ideals of Aquarius, who enjoys connection with others, who revolves their life around their community, maybe this is an opportunity for those with the Aquarius energy to come back into self, to really understand themselves and see what it means to reinvent themselves based off of this faded, or we can even call it karmic energy that is afoot for us. And the reason I say karmic is because these things that are occurring in our life is not something that we may have any control over. These things can usually be very sudden and shipwrecking, maybe. Especially since we have the planet Uranus in a square aspect to this new moon solar eclipse. So the square aspects carrying the energy of Mars can bring challenge, can bring sudden change. And once again, this is going to affect us particularly based off of our rising signs. I think that having the dispositor Saturn in the sign of Aries is inviting us to slow down a bit and be mindful of this new way of life that we may be walking into. So we can take a moment for ourselves to see what we have going on and really understand the importance of each of the things that are showing themselves in our lives, the different opportunities, the different relationships, the connection with ourself, our own personal self relationship. All these different opportunities are arising for us to see where we are now and then make our decisions according to the collective consciousness and our own personal consciousness. It's very interesting that with the dispositor Saturn in the sign of Aries, we have the ruler of Aries, which is Mars, in the sign of Aquarius. So these two planets are actually in a mutual reception right now. So it's like a secret conjunction. So they're communicating, they work together with one another. They're in one another's homes, and this is good in a sense because now we know, according to this eclipse, whatever comes up in our experience is going to give us a new direction that we can take action in. But that Saturn in Aries, like I said before, wants us to be mindful of this direction, to take time and assess our direction versus just diving right in. Now, of course, if you have Aries energy and you know from your own personal experience, sometimes diving right in just happens to stick. It happens to work. But now that Saturn is in the sign of Aries, maybe it doesn't work so much. Maybe it leads us down the road of lessons. And maybe we still dive in order to gain these lessons. There's always the opportunity to learn our lessons from quick action. But Saturn, the planet of discipline in the sign of Aries, is going to whip that energy into shape for us. It's going to create some order. It's going to structure that part of our life. So wherever that sign of Aries is in our own particular birth chart, we need to be mindful of our experiences there. And this solar eclipse is going to be of support to that Aries part of our chart. You know, when we think about these new moons, a lot of astrologers, including myself, I love to say it's like the planting of a seed, you know, like every time we have a new moon, that's one of the main things that comes to my mind. We're planting a new seed to see it grow into fruition. But here, this is eclipse season, you know, and like I said, it's a new beginning. It's like an opportunity for us to be guided in an entirely new direction with this revolutionary Aquarius energy along with the square from Uranus. Is like, who knows what can come from this? Like, of course, we're being mindful of our experience, especially if we're studying astrology. We're looking to understand what the planets have in store for us. Of course, that's great to take those steps. But when it comes to our solar eclipse, the oncoming lunar eclipses, and this whole eclipse season that we're being presented with, we just have to be mindful. We have to be aware of each step at this point. And soon, in a couple of days, we'll have the planet Saturn conjoining Neptune to bring some spiritual insight into our experience. And once again, that's going to be something that's going to come step by step through our intuitional understanding. So I invite you to be mindful of this new moon, solar eclipse, and just see what's coming up. Notice what's going on in the collective. Of course, maybe it's affecting us personally because we're part of a particular community, part of a particular group. But we need to look at our own lives and see how we connect with community, what we have to offer to community, and how we can share the truth of ourselves to the community in order to, you know, be a light or be able to support and receive. One more thing I want to share in regards to this solar eclipse is the importance of taking a moment for ourselves, because especially with the sign of Aquarius, we can be quick to find somebody and find some help, find some support, but we need to find support within ourselves first. And that is the beauty of having the Saturn in the sign of Aries, the time where we slow down for ourselves and really understand this new direction that's being revealed here. Maybe it starts out quiet, maybe it blows up in our face, but this revelation, this opportunity for growth in some form of way in our own experience is going to show itself, whether it's very good for us or very challenging for us. There's going to be something on the other end of this experience that we need to learn, that we need to understand. So be mindful as this solar eclipse begins to unfold. Please remember to like the video, remember to subscribe, and my name's Casey. This is Aligned Astrology. Until the next time.